how do you see the situation right now between Iran and Israel?
I think it's heading for a train wreck. There's going to be a direct collision. Let me just read you the foreign minister of Iran put out a statement. He said, in response to the phone calls of Baerbock of Germany, David Cameron of Britain, and Senator Wong, the Australian foreign minister, while exchanging views on some bilateral issues, I emphasized that when the Zionist regime violates international law and the Vienna Conventions, immunity, it violates diplomatic persons and places, and the Security Council is not able to issue a statement condemning the terrorist attacks on the Iranian embassy in Damascus. Legitimate defense with the aim of punishing the aggressor is a necessity. So what he's saying is that if the Security Council had come out and roundly condemned Israel, at the unanimous vote, then Iran would have taken the high road and said, okay, they've been condemned, but they didn't do that. The Security Council didn't do it. And Iran's going to say, okay, so much for your rules-based international order. You only apply the rules when it suits you. These are flexible rules. These are not immutable rules. It's the rules that only some of us have to follow. You get to be a rule breaker, rule maker. So with that in mind, because it wasn't just the attack at the consulate. It has been a series of attacks going back, well, let's say 14 years, starting with assassinations of Israeli nuclear scientists. And it really at no point over that last 14-year period has Iran gone out.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You mean Iranian nuclear scientists?
Right, Iranian nuclear scientists. And at no point did Iran turn around and lash out and launch terrorist attacks against the West. And the West has persisted in painting Iran as this massive sponsor of terrorism, when I believe that a very credible case can be made that the biggest sponsor of terrorism in the world has been the United States, at least over the last 20 years. So you got all the warning signs that something big's going to happen. Iran has recalled all the Revolutionary Guard command forces to their barracks. No leaves have been canceled. There countries like France, Austria are canceling flights in and out of both Iran and in and out of Israel. So clearly, there are reports in the press that the U.S. intelligence community is warning that there's going to be an attack within 48 hours. So this, all signs are pointing that something's going to happen. Will it happen this weekend? I don't know.
Do you think that prior to this attack on Iranian consulate, Washington knew about that?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Why they're letting Netanyahu to making even more difficulties for them, more troubles for them?
Well, I don't necessarily see it as trouble. In fact, I think there's a faction around Biden that would like to go to war with Iran because they believe they can defeat Iran. Iran's got a lot of options here. So how would this, how could this possibly escalate? One, Iran has missiles capable of hitting Israeli military bases in Israel. So it could move to retaliate and hit some military infrastructure, military targets in Israel. That would be a shocker because Israel up to this point has lived under what they think is the protection of the Iron Dome and think that they can shoot everything down. If Iran launches and hits those targets and Israel's not able to respond, then that's likely to lead to an escalation where Israel would be trying to hit Iran. And then, all of a sudden it's going to, go up the escalate. They call it the escalatory ladder. At some point, Iran, if feeling threatened enough, could really put a knife at the throat of the world by cutting off all oil coming in and out of the Persian Gulf. Now, I don't think it would want to do that necessarily to China and India. And so it's going to be looking particularly to China and Russia to back it up here. So this is really, really dangerous and has the potential to spin out of control.
Larry, we knew that Netanyahu said that if something happens between Israel and Hezbollah, they don't need the United States to help them. And
Yeah, he's crazy. I mean, he's crazy. Like I said, there's a part of me that tells me, I hope you do it. Go ahead and do it. Because it's like, have you ever dealt with somebody where they're always making the wrong choice and you're counseling them and you're advising them, please don't do this, take this other path, don't go right, go left, stop what you're doing and change this. And then they don't listen to you. And then they go ahead and do what you've warned them not to do. And then when it blows up on them, they come to you complaining, oh my God, you got to help me. That's Israel. It is that combination of arrogance, hubris, and foolishness. And those three in tandem makes for a very, very dangerous situation.
From what we've seen and what we have learned from the Israeli army, do you see any capability to going after Iran or Hezbollah without the United States helping them?
Well, even if the United States helped them, I don't think they'd be successful. The United States is stretched very, very thin. It's not sitting on a pile of HIMARS rockets and delivery systems. Nope. Used all those up in Ukraine. It's short on Patriot missile batteries. It's short on M1 Abrams tanks. It's short on Bradley fighting vehicles. And it's short on personnel. Other than that, they're in really good shape, just to be sarcastic about it. So, but I think Israel, from its standpoint, would feel better if the United States was involved in combat, involved fighting with them. Because right now, Israel is doing a really good job of isolating itself, making itself a pariah, an international pariah. The countries that used to sort of line up and respect it are moving away.
Did you see Ben-Gvir was threatening Netanyahu that he said, you have to finish your job in Rafah.
Yeah.
If you don't attack Rafah, you're not going to be the prime minister of
Prime
Israel.
Minister, right.
That's so radical when compared.
Yeah.
When we see somebody even more radical than Netanyahu.
Yeah, no, Netanyahu's he is an opportunist. Ben-Gvir is just, certified. He is a convicted terrorist. Let's be clear about that. He has got blood on his hands, and he is convinced that all Palestinians are animals and must be destroyed. Not a nice person.
What's their plan in Gaza right now, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think the plan, the withdrawal of the forces from Gaza, is to get them prepped, refitted to go into southern Lebanon, invade, and take on and fight Hezbollah. I think that's the next phase of this.
If that's the case, it seems to me that would be a suicide.
It is highly likely that Israel will suffer a catastrophic defeat at the hands of Hezbollah, something they do not expect, which then raises the possibility that they may feel tempted to try to use their nuclear weapons. But again, using them so close or on Israeli territory doesn't make a lot of sense because they contaminate the very land they claim is holy that they want to protect.
In their policy in Rafah right now, we've seen that Ben-Gvir forcing Netanyahu to do that. And on the other hand, we know that Joe Biden is under the pressure from outside and inside the country, outside from these Arab states. and the king of Jordan was telling him that all the Arab states are against this attacking on Rafah, and we know that he's hurting because of his policy in Gaza in 2024 in US presidential election.
Right.
And how do you see the Biden administration managing the situation right now in their favor?
Well, they're not managing. They're on the one hand, they are making public statements that are designed to placate Arab American, Muslim American constituents in the United States. And like saying, "Oh, ceasefire now," and the talk they'll condemn Bibi Netanyahu, and like and Biden saying to Iran, "Don't." So they paint this one picture of being tough guys towards Israel, but then in the very next breath, they're sending them the 2,000-pound bombs and all the ammunition that they can afford to send. So, what do you believe? What they say or what they do? I always think it's more important to look at what people do. They can say anything. What they do shows where their heart really lies, what their intent is. So on that front, the actions of the United States are alienating other countries around the world. And these, meaningless comments that Biden makes here in the States aren't changing the situation on the ground over there at all. And it was, last week when we talked about the killing of those World Country Kitchen workers. There are 7 of them, a driver and 6 of the workers. That, Jose Andres, who was the, founder, creator of it, and frankly, he's making money off of it. He was really angry after that because up to that point, he hadn't said a word, not one word in support of the Palestinian people, not one word condemning the Israelis for their ceaseless attacks on men, women, and children in Gaza and in the West Bank. It was only when his own people got killed that all of a sudden he, found a conscience and spoke out. That, so you're starting to get that effect. People who maybe in the early months of this war sided with Israel are starting to distance themselves and move away.
Ben Gvir, Netanyahu, who are insisting on attacking Rafah, despite the United States not totally agreeing with them on this decision. What's the reason behind this? Are they seeing this as their final chance of reaching some sort of results in their actions so far?
Well, they want to get rid of the Palestinians out of Gaza completely, expel them all. And that's what, that's why Ben Gvir, because that's the last concentrated area where the Palestinians who had lived up north have fled. So now you got, 2 million people crammed into that little small area. And Ben Gvir wants them taken out too, because if they get attacked, they're going to have to go somewhere, and hopefully it'll be outside of Gaza.
And let's not forget about the main reason, the main objective of Israelis in this conflict. They're going to destroy Hamas totally. It seems that so far they couldn't kill more than 11%, 12% of Hamas, some information. And how do you see how successful were Israelis in their goal, in their objective so far?
Well, I think they failed. They have not destroyed Hamas. They have not destroyed its leadership. They've killed the grandchildren of one of the leaders. Well, that's nothing to be proud of, killing children. That seems like it's one of the few things that Israel is good at, to be cynical about it. As long as you're an unarmed woman, child, or elderly person, man, Israel can smoke you in a minute. But if you actually have a rifle in hand and can fight back, it's a whole different matter. So I don't see there's no incentive on the part of Israel to accept the reality that they've lost. They haven't freed the hostages. They haven't destroyed Hamas and its leadership. And most importantly, they haven't been able to create an uprising among the Palestinian people who are demanding that Hamas leave. I mean, that would be, that should have been one of the objectives from the beginning. Treat the Palestinian people so well that they will have an incentive to turn against Hamas. But what's happened is because Israel is attacking everybody, it's made everyone closer. They're more aligned with Hamas now than ever before.
Larry, let's talk about your favorite character in the Middle East, Erdogan from Turkey. It seems that he's
Yes.
putting some sort of sanctions on Israel.
Okay, because this is about politics. Erdogan's party lost two key elections, municipal elections, and so he's a cunning, conniving politician, smart enough to realize, okay, we're going to have to really shift our way over here and put some teeth into our heated rhetoric that has been directed against Israel. He's talked a good game, but as we've said repeatedly on your show, talk's one thing, action's another. And he's just all talk. That's all there is to it.
Larry, two things about Israel. The recent polls in Israel show that 78% of Israelis are against the Netanyahu administration. 68% of people are supporting their policy in Gaza.
Yeah.
This is quite surprising when it comes to this difference between these two. And do you think at the end of the day, we know that with this new move coming from Turkey in Israel, do they really understand what's at stake for them if they don't get along with these countries, with Arab states, with Turkey?
No, they assume that they're all powerful, that they can solve anything, to defeat anybody, but they don't have to kowtow to anyone. So, understand what if you got rid of Netanyahu tomorrow, that it's not going to change Israel's policy. That's the thing people need to understand. Yeah, they hate Netanyahu. The only thing that helped his popularity in the last month was when Chuck Schumer took the Senate floor and attacked him, and then the Biden administration started openly condemning him, calling for him to resign. Well, in a way, it's almost like they may have conspired with Netanyahu to do this strategy, knowing it would increase his support in Israel, not diminish it, which is exactly what happened. His public opinion polls went up, not down.
Larry, whenever we talk about Israel, I remember, we say that the only democracy in that region is Israel. I don't know if you watched this new interview of Tucker Carlson with a priest, with a Christian who is living in Israel. He said that
Right.
they were not treating them fairly in Israel. And when he talks about the situation of Christians in Israel, it's so amazing. It's almost unbelievable when you hear how they're treating these people who are not Jews.
Yeah. No, well, there's video. You can go to YouTube and easily find, just search for Israeli spitting on Christians. Just Google that, and you'll see these. I think they're Filipino Christians coming out of one of the churches that are near Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and this is the area of town where they believe Jesus was crucified and buried. And as they come out, they're standing there, these group of Hasidic Jews. They're the ones with the curls, long curls on the side of their temple, and they wear a very conservative dress, long, cloaks, and a funny looking hat. And they're walking by these Filipino Christians who are coming out and they're not interfering at all with them, and they're just spitting. One after another spits at him. Unbelievable.
what's the problem there? If they cannot get along with Christians, how they can get along with Muslims, other nations, other ethnicities?
Well, they don't want to. I mean, that's the point. And this is not new. The Christians, if I recall the number, the Christians in the Palestinian community used to account like 43% going back to 1947, 48, that time frame. 43% of the Palestinians were Christian, not Muslim. Over the years, the Christians have left. I think the percentage of Christians now living in Gaza and in Palestinian territory is around 12%, maybe less. So it's not very big. So Israel has always had this, it's the only country in the world where you're ethnically identified by virtue of a religious practice. And yet a large number of the, quote, Jewish people living in Israel do not practice Judaism. I have no tie other than having, been born in, you can call it the lucky or unlucky sperm club. They got born to these people and that's who they are.